Arsenal come streaming forward now in surely what will be their last attack. A good ball by Dixon, finding Smith. But Thomas charging through the midfield. Thomas, it's up for grabs now. Thomas, right at
the end. Hello and welcome to Gooners in USA podcast, the start of season 2. Mike.
Woohoo! Season 2. It's our sophomore slump. How you been?
I'm good. How have you been?
I am good with that new Michael Thomas intro. I've been begging for this for a long time. We decided to wait until season 2, but that moment right there was the moment I became a lifelong Gooner, just instead of being a visiting Gooner. And so it is my goal and my dream to get Mickey Thomas on this podcast. But in lieu of that, for today, we have our very, very special guest.
Another Thomas.
Yes, we have a different Thomas. We have Thomas Michael instead of Michael Tom. No, Tom Canton, who I'm sure everybody knows from the Gooner Talk TV. Welcome to the pod again, Tom.
Thank you very much. Honored to be here.
I think the last time we had you on, I was sitting in my car outside of Starbucks. Now I'm firmly ensconced in my office with people milling around wondering what the hell I'm doing.
Taking awkward photos last time, weren't you?
He'll still do that today at work.
Yeah, I believe I did, and yeah, we'll be putting those up on Twitter. But welcome back to the podcast, and a second guest at the end of the podcast. We will be airing a interview that I did with once again a former guest, Adam Hoffman, who joined us on New Year's Day last year, and just finished off 6 days in Australia, following the Arsenal down there in their Oz tour, and he's got some good perspectives and had some pretty amazing experiences. So. We will put that in at the end of this podcast. But, Andy, before we get started, you've had a pretty eventful football weekend, haven't you?
I have.
Are we able to talk about it?
Yeah, no, we can talk about it. I don't know if Tom knows about it. He probably doesn't. But no, my girls went up for a preseason tournament to a city called Steamboat Springs, which is just north of Colorado. And it's a big tournament where teams from around the country fly in. And looked at the schedule, and I thought, yeah, there's not a chance in hell we're going to do well against these teams, but we've been training hard. So
that's the spirit.
Yep, first match, we win 9-0, and I'm thinking, was the team that bad, or were we that good? Right?
Now, were you fired for being disrespectful like that coach you were talking about in your musings last week?
I was not fired for being disrespectful. So then the second day we were there, we play another match, and we lose 3-2, but I was given a red card for for telling the referee, who told me I have no opinion, that this is America and everyone gets an opinion, to which he red cards me. And
dude's been a American citizen for like 4 or 5 months, and he's throwing around what his rights are already.
So essentially what happens is, it's a 50-50 challenge. 2 girls go in for the ball. He calls a free kick, which I'm okay with. But I just asked him, I said, hey, man, can I know what the call was? Because my players are asking. And they're young kids, so they're still learning, right? So he comes over, and whenever you talk to a referee, obviously they think you're just going to yell at them. And I'm just like, I just need an explanation. I was super calm. And then he counts off the 10-yard wall, but he actually counts off 20 paces, literally 20 paces. So then I asked him, I said, hey, man, turn around and look. That is not the right amount of space. And he turns to me and he says, you don't have an opinion here, and your opinion doesn't matter. And I just said, hey, it's America. My opinion matters. And he said, one more word, and you're gone. I said, okay. Turned around to sit back on the bench, throws the red card. So I leave.
Did you shove anyone on your way out?
I did not. I just walked away. So anyway, we go into the next match after losing. And so the way that they score it is you get 3 points for a win, 1 point for a shutout. And then for the first 3 goals you score, you get 1 point for each. And then you're deducted a point for each goal. So it's super confusing. So anyway, long story short, next game we play, we win 7-2. We get 21 points, right? The other 2 teams in our bracket have 21 points, so the top team goes through. We had all the tiebreakers, except they deducted me 1 point for the red card. So my girls missed out on the championship because of me.
Yes, it's not the first time you've had like 11 girls really, really mad at you.
I felt so bad. And the parents were so wonderful. They were like, you didn't do anything wrong. You were very calm. We've seen you a lot angrier. Someone needs to...
We've seen you a lot angrier. That's a nice compliment.
No. They were like, someone has to stand up and stick up for the girls. You were doing that, and so it sucks. But the team who ended up winning the tournament, we beat 7-2, so I feel like even though we won the whole thing. So, but that was my football weekend.
Participation trophies and you, Andy, are a disgrace to your federation.
I am a disgrace. It's funny because Justin said that to me as we were going for dinner that night.
That's funny. So, Tom, what did you think of the foul? Was it when you watched it on the YouTube highlights? Was it all it was cracked up to be?
Yes, obviously. That's all I can come up with.
Yeah. That was an exciting weekend for sure, and I'm glad that you came out of it with your dignity intact. Apparently, but
man, I feel so bad. I still feel really guilty.
Speaking of people who don't have their dignity intact, we instead of a host question this week, we're just gonna read the outcome of a poll that we ran on Twitter over the weekend. It was just complete smashing landslide. So the question of the poll, if you hadn't seen it, was which would you least rather have in your life? And 16% said child hunger, which was, of course, one of the options. 22% voted for nuclear war, which leaves a massive 62% who said Theo Walcott. And, I think that number's a bit low, but that was definitely the outcome of the masses. So, speaking of the matches this weekend,
let's
did you
go back
watch
to Theo because apparently he's signing.
We're going to spend some time on Theo.
Well, he's spending time signing autographs, and so my question is: do you think he's doing that because I told him to fuck off when he wouldn't sign autographs for me and my friends in LA, or do you think he's just now he just was hyped up on coffee, he had more energy to sign autographs?
What do I think? Yeah. I think he has taken a lot of robot classes over the last year to learn how to be a media maven and always try to do or say the right thing. You can even see his eyes go blank when he's giving an interview. I used to actually laud him for saying the right things in an interview until I realized it was almost like a little John Cena-esque where the guy's just a pre-programmed robot.
He is.
But it looks like someone on the pitch, someone programmed him just like a little bit wrong. So it's always just a bit off.
And Tom, here's the backstory to that quick. So when we were in LA, we were staying pretty close to where the players were, and so the tour bus or the bus for the players showed up, and so we were like, well, let's just hang out here because they're going to walk out. So a few of them walked out, instantly came over, started signing autographs, right? Then this woman in an Arsenal, she had like a binder, and she just comes out and says to the fans, hey, we're running behind, so the rest of the players are just going to walk past, and we're going to head out. But all the players that came out after her instantly walked over and started signing, taking pictures. Theo walks out, and the fucker just walks past, and then when this little kid just kind of yelled, hey, Theo, can you sign my shirt? He turned and went, no, we're in a rush, we need to go. Meanwhile, there's like 6 players signing autographs around us and kept walking. Yeah. So I just told him to fuck off, and he looked back. Didn't look at me directly, just looked back in our direction and kept going to the bus. So I like to think that you're welcome, Australian fans. That's what I've
just got this image of you poking your head between these two giant guys and just like going, fuck off.
It was very
and then hiding back again for him to turn around and see nothing.
Andy, I wasn't there for this, so Andy tells the story as though he was standing up for a whole crew of kids and like just giving Theo a piece of his mind. But I would imagine it's a little closer to what you've just described. Fuck off, sir. Well, we'll talk about Theo, and frankly, my second favorite club may soon be Everton if the rumors are true. Not because they might have him on the team, but because they might take him off of our hands. But there's a lot of Theo hate on this pod. I don't know if you share that, Tom, or not. I don't remember your take on Theo.
I don't really have a grinding opinion on him as you seemingly do. But I mean, I find that we should sell him, but I get often a lot of good arguments in the other direction, which argue that we should keep him. Like, he scored 19 goals.
I hate that argument because while true, I've done a lot of things in the past as well that I don't get, that don't get me kept by various people.
Yeah. Plus, those people have really attractive other halves. So.
Right. I think if he was more consistent, it would be a different story. He's been a great servant for the club, but would you rather have Mahrez or Walcott?
Mahrez.
I got an entire tweeting back and forth with, I think, Ellis and Josh from Bergkamp Wonderland yesterday about that. And the 19 goals gets brought up, and the fact that Mahrez's goals were almost all penalties. And then I looked it up, and 4 out of his 17 goals in that 1 year that they had were penalties. So he had 13 goals in open play, whereas Theo had 10 in the league. Right. So, and without all the Champions League or even a deep run in the FA Cup that year. So, I'll take Mahrez all day long, and Theo can.
Well, I think the argument is because
a whole bag of them.
Because we have Theo and we're paying him so much, he's hard to ship. But then because we have Theo, we're not bringing in a Mahrez type player. That's
the thing.
That's the big one for me as well. So yeah, I got to see the first match and only the highlights of the second, but what support turned out for a club that just only made the Europa League. I mean, we heard it was going to be such doom and gloom from all the Tottenham
the tickets
supporters.
were already sold before that happened.
But even still, Mike, I mean, we're only Europa League and we're drawing 80,000 per game. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Each of which got a chance to start the "What do you think of Tottenham?" chant, apparently, from what I could hear.
Jesus Christ.
Last summer in LA, it was just awful. I got so sick of that chant. I liked that chant going into that week, and I just hated it coming out because it was just like mostly people who don't get to go to games very often, and everyone just felt like it was their time to do that chant. But
so I watched the first match on YouTube a couple hours after it ended. So whoever provided that very legal stream, thank you. But what do you boys look for when you're watching a preseason fixture? For me, it's getting to see a couple of the youngsters play. I know Reece Nelson caught the eye of many individuals, looked very promising. But Tom, what do you look for in a preseason match?
I usually look for an indirect free kick to be taken inside the box, where there's 50 men standing on a line.
That might be one of my favorite things in all football.
With only 5% of the goal actually open, and yet a goal still goes in. That's what I look for. Did
you see the Mirror? They put their newspaper article was Arsenal stick all 11 players on goal line and bid to defend indirect free kick. ... concede anyway.
Man United fans jumped all over that as a meme to use. Yeah, but no, I mean, pre-season is something which I think, as I'm getting older, I'm getting less interested in. As a youngster, I just craved football 24/7, and I still do, and more so during the season, of course. But I was just I'm so done in when the season's finished, and you've got to wait around till August before it starts again with just the transfer rumours to tie you over until that point. And I used to just tune in for the pre-season games, watch them. I was on holiday in Italy last year during the summer. That's not boasting, by the way; it's just fact. But
you never do that.
No, never. And then the Man City game was on, and I remember watching it and getting a sly text from the other half going, it's like 30 degrees out here. We've got a pool. We've come all the way from England, also known as the rainiest place on earth, and you're sitting under the shade watching Arsenal play Manchester City in a pre-season game and watching Gabriel get absolutely mutilated. But
is that how his face got that way?
Probably something like that. It just he looked at Nicholas Otamendi and it just turned that way. Pre-season, I think you just got to look for the youngsters, just see how they're integrating into the team, or just scouting for other Premiership teams to eventually pinch them. Or in the case of Dan Crowley, an Eredivisie team. But it's pre-season's a struggle sometimes for me, but it ties you over in some ways.
Mike, what do you look for?
I do like watching the young kids bed in first ding of the season. But It's just that so few of them ever work out like you think they're going to do. I mean, 2 years ago, were we not creaming our pants for Jeff Rain Adelaide during the Emirates Cup? I mean, he was like a superstar in that thing and ready to break into the squad, and now he's not even. I mean, is he on this preseason tour? Is he on our team anymore? Has he been loaned out? Tom?
Who's that, sorry?
Jeff Rain Adelaide.
Jeff, I mean,
he was the next big thing 2 summers ago. Yeah, he fell asleep.
I didn't. I was just looking at someone bring up Callum Chambers moving to Crystal Palace, and I was a bit like, hey, so I'm sure you might come on to that later. But I mean, the Jeff is just. I don't know. There was also the guy that he signed with, this Fortune bloke, who I heard
Fortune or something.
Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, he came in and people were saying that he was supposed to be the better player of the two, and he's gone nowhere. Jeff, I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I give it a search on Twitter. You might find some ITK being like he's in a restaurant in Lyon.
so you take it the good with the bad when it comes to the young players. I mean, I don't really look for much other than just watching the goddamn game and see how it goes, but. The one thing I don't know if I enjoy it or if it bothers me, but when watching the preseason games on a legal stream, aka the Arsenal player, the ridiculously biased pro announcer team. I mean, they are basically they were hired away from a North Korean state-run television, I believe, to broadcast that game. So and I like the kit numbers. When you got the kids playing in the games, the kit numbers. I mean, Joe Willock looked awesome, but what was even better was his sexy ass number on his kit. So you got the young players wearing 69 during the summer. It's just it's hard to look away. But as far as that match was concerned, from what you saw, man of the match for the second game in a row. For me, was Per Mertesacker, who I'm just going to have to call Martinho at this point. I mean, between scoring off a corner and then his goal, like a graceful swan, gathering a rebound and connecting on. I'm going to call it an overhead kick because for him, it would be a little hard to kick an actual overhead kick. But was that not better than Ibrahimovic's for Sweden versus England a few years ago? Honestly.
It was like a giraffe attempting some sort of gymnastic feat of excellence.
To me, the guy's already earned his $70,000 a week for the whole year already. So what were your thoughts on the maiden goal of the season, Tom?
I mean, for Per to get it was nice. When the announcement came out about him taking over the youth setup after he retires, I thought that was fantastic news. So I think it was just a little reminder to people like, yes, he is still going to play this season, even though that we've signed him on as a coach for next year. And I think that it's someone who could even have a say in deciding who's going to play in that back three, because if these cup final performance is anything to go by, he should be certainly starting.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea he had anything left in the tank, or that he ever had anything in the tank to begin with. But he has won me over. I love the guy. I'm not ready to put him in the middle of the starting three on a regular basis, but I'm happy for him to be our FA Cup back three leader and certainly get spot play when injuries warrant. But Andy, the goal? I mean,
yeah. Until he shows us otherwise, if he plays every match like that cup final, then he can be in our back three anytime. But he is getting older, and so I do wonder if him and Arsene had that conversation of you're not going to play week in and week out, but if he's healthy and he's turning in those performances, then great. The one thing I think we do miss with Per is that leadership, because we've seen with Ozil in the past, we saw the way he and Rob Holding, and Rob came out after the FA Cup saying this is what Per told me to do the entire match. Like, he is that leader that we've lacked. But if his performances are going to match, then I say put him in. I put him back there. So for credit to him. But your first match of the season is against Leicester. You know how they're going to play. So is that really the match you want to put Per in? Now I know we don't have any defensive players able to play in that match, so he's going to be in if he's healthy. But those are the type of matches where you're thinking, you probably wouldn't put him in. Speed.
by the same token, if those guys that are coming back late aren't available, and they might be, but if they aren't, and if Chambers is sold as it appears, we may just by pure lack of numbers, we may see him in there, and despite the mismatch or the tactical thing with Leicester that you're talking about, I'm still feeling pretty good about his ability at the moment, but that overhead kick was something I did not expect to see. What I did expect to see was Theo straying off sides, shooting directly at the goalkeeper, missing open goals by shooting into people's backs and then earning bogus penalties because of that. He was just beautifully off as we would have expected him to be. So we know your thoughts on his personality, but did he show anything in that game or either game to warrant a 30 million pound offer from Everton?
No, he looked like a player who was trying to impress a little too hard, and there were a couple opportunities where he could have passed, but like you said, he shot at the defender, right at the keeper. He just looks like a player who knows that he's on that cusp, and he was trying to impress. Tom, I don't like the man being an Arsenal player, so maybe my opinion is biased. So I'll go over to you, and you can answer this question. But I thought he looked piss poor, absolutely piss poor.
Yeah, I think the words you used about trying too hard sums it up very well. I was listening to the Arsecast. They were talking about how they could not understand and they could not think about where he fits into our new three at the back system, and if we somehow, pray to the Lord, keep Alexis Sanchez, you imagine he's going to play on the left with Lacazette up top and Ozil on the right. And Walcott, for me, he's never going to play as a wing back. He has not got the effort and the defensive capabilities to do that. And to think that we could get 30 million for him if he went to Everton or West Ham, I'd bite your arm off and your leg and every part of you for it.
Are you sure that we're not actually paying Everton the 30 million? Is that?
It's very misconstrued. Yeah.
If you'll pay his wages, we'll pay you 30 million.
Let's assume that West Ham or Everton do come in for Theo. Do we pay part of his wages? Do you think?
On a transfer deal?
Yeah.
Or on a loan?
No, on a transfer deal.
We can't, can we?
Yeah. That's happened in the past.
Has it? When?
It's happened in baseball, but I know with loan deals, but I don't.
Well, in loan deals, I know, but I've heard of, and I'd have to concrete example, but I've heard in the past where the selling team will cover 20-30% of.
That seems kind of silly because you could just sell them for a little bit less, and then they use that money to pay the wages.
But that's the only way I could see him leaving. Otherwise, I just, unless he's begging for a starting 11 position, why would you not just sit comfortably on the bench for £140,000 a week?
I'll do it.
I would too.
Well, he seems like a player in need of a fresh start, and before it's too late. And it's too late for Arsenal as far as I'm concerned. But 28-year-old can make a nice fresh start in Everton, filling the dreadful Lukaku hole that's been left.
Here's a quick question for both of you: Would you start, honestly, Danny Welbeck or Theo Walcott in the right wing position?
I would start anybody over Theo in the right wing position at this point. I would start Callum Chambers in that position over Theo.
Yeah, I agree.
Would you keep Joel Campbell over Theo Walcott?
Yes.
I don't even know who Joel Campbell is anymore. I believe he just got hurt for 6 months playing in the Gold Cup, which takes our minimal chances of actually unloading him on a transfer.
I would still play him ahead of Walker.
He is guilty, Joel Campbell, of not taking probably the best advice that's ever been given, which was to get out while he still can.
Speaking of Gold Cup, I actually went to 2 matches last week. I saw Curaçao versus El Salvador.
Sweet. And
then Mexico versus Jamaica.
And did you have bags of piss thrown at you during the Mexico game? We did not
have bags of piss, but we heard that might happen. No, the Mexican fans were actually lovely. They made the atmosphere. The match was absolute just dire, but they were incredible.
It was a 0-0, wasn't it?
0-0. It was just super boring. The Mexican fans are ruthless. I mean, 15 minutes in, the back four are passing the ball around to allow the midfielders and strikers to get into position. They just start booing immediately. If the ball isn't moving forward, they just boo ruthlessly until it gets into the opposition's half, and then they're good to go. Then they start cheering. But they were so much fun. I mean,
do you participate in the crude homophobic chant every time the opposing goaltender takes a kick?
You know what, Mike? I was very excited to yell "burro" every time. Yes, I did.
It's not burro, I don't think.
No, it is. It's donkey.
Well, we could talk about that off air. I really don't think that's what they're saying.
We were talking to some Mexicans in front of us, and they yell "burro" for donkey.
Okay.
They might yell something else when it's against America, but when it was against Jamaica, they were yelling burro.
Okay. All right, puto. All right. So the penalty, real quick. Obviously, it was a ridiculous, awful call. But there's a lot of discussion between a couple of the Sydney fellas and Welbeck. Almost clear to me that they were asking him to shank the kick because it wasn't a good penalty. And Welbeck's in a no-win position there, an absolute no-win position there. It wasn't the best of kicks, but it also didn't look like he was making it too obvious. So, I mean, do you think he tipped him off? Do you think he shanked it, Tom?
No, I just think he's bad. Penalties, I should stress.
Not as bad as who, though?
Walcott. I'm assuming you're being Walcott, yeah. I can't. I mean, penalties, comedic penalties are hilarious. So when you think of goalkeepers with notes in their pocket, which is what I find funny, especially when you have someone who's got like a number like 69 on the back of their shirt, step up, and they still look at their note just to they've got no information on this guy who's got 69. They've never heard of them in their lives. It's just some son.
His brother may have taken a penalty at one point, and so he's drafted it.
For some person who's obviously been damaged in the past, and he's just come in and he's still reading this note, just checking, just trying to put him off. He's like, I know where you're going to go. I can't pronounce your surname, but I know where you're going to put this penalty. But I don't think Walcott should be a penalty taker. I think the rest of our transfer kit should probably be spent on someone who's purely only good at taking penalties, and we get an extra 10 goals a season.
Well, it was Welbs that took the penalty. Walcott earned it, but Welbs took the penalty and right at the keeper, pretty much, just a little bit off his line at the keeper. But to me, it looked like kind of a handshake agreement that if you dive the right way, you'll save it. I'm not putting it into the upper corner, which is good for him because he didn't then have to prove that he can't actually do that. But the call was just an absolute shit show. And finally, our Lord and Savior Alexandre Lacazette comes into the game, wearing the number 9 shirt made legendary by Lucas. First on the shirt thing, do we think did Lucas just get a note or like find out on Arsenal.com that he was moved to 28, or was there a discussion that you think happened about that? And was Joel Campbell over in America like, what the fuck? What happened to my 28? So, I mean, do you think they at least did the right thing by him in telling him in advance, or did he find out at the team shop? Tom, what do you think?
I mean, I feel really sorry for Perez if he found out by some text like
the final straw. I mean, like how, the final indignity to the guy.
It could be worse. You could be Gus Poyet sitting on Match of the Day and find out that you get sacked live on TV. True. I mean, that is the worst.
Was that Brighton?
Yeah, I think it was Brighton. Yeah, I think it was.
Story. Love that story.
Oh dear! I mean, I don't remember any other. I can't think of any comparative stories for players just getting just another one coming and taking the number. I mean, surely this has to signal that Perez is off in some way or form, and it looks like he's been linked to Spain with Deportivo, his former club, being interested. Valencia, I've heard, had links to him as well. So I'm really disappointed because I really like Perez, and I think he's someone who's got a bad rap, not by our fans. I think our fans in particular.
We're all scratching our head wondering what happened.
Exactly. So, and it's a strange one as well, because you think of Arsenal fans are so quick to turn on players, but we're all still a lot of us are still wondering why and how he didn't get more of a chance at Arsenal.
we're so quick to turn on players. I waited 10 years for Walcott, but when you turn, it's over. It's over.
Well,
so, what do you think?
At the end of the day, maybe there's some stuff behind the scenes we don't know about. And maybe he's not happy in London. We know some Spanish players come over here and they just can't take to the weather, the culture. So maybe it's more, because he showed enough on the pitch when he played to be at least a squad rotation player who will go in and bust his ass. And I think that's the frustrating thing, as Tom alluded to. Like, it seems like the bulk support like the guy and want him to stay. And it is kind of a kick in the face that he did get the number, but that's not the Arsenal way. I'm sure that he got a phone call just saying we're bringing in our record signing and he wants the number 9.
Yeah, there's only one person whose opinion really mattered in the whole Lucas thing anyway, and presumably he was not the one that wanted to bring him in. So, yeah. And that's Arsene.
Right, absolutely. Now, speaking of the number 9, did you see that an Arsenal supporter got a tattoo of Lacazette on his person?
Oh, but
and now Lacazette's asked to find out who this man is.
Oh, I thought he got a tattoo, and it turned out to be the wrong person that he got a tattoo.
No,
maybe that was some other player.
It looks like Lacazette for sure. But Lacazette's gone to Twitter and said, "Hey, I want to find out who this person is to meet you and offer you my football shirt." So that's kind of cool. So apparently, that's all you have to do, Mike, is get a tattoo of a player for them to meet. Except Theo. Theo would not want to meet you.
You could get your entire body sleeve tattoo of Theo, and he would still just walk away from you and tell you that he doesn't have time. So all in all, and let's not forget about Lacazette breaking his duck within 15 minutes of being on the pitch. Nice tidy finish. Nothing special, but it was nice to see. Get that out of the way. All in all, kind of a tidy 2-0 win. Could have been 5 or 6-0 if anyone other than Theo Walcott was playing. But it was a good way to kick off the preseason in my eyes. So now the second game's on a Saturday morning for us. 6:00 a.m. for me, 4:00 a.m. for Andy. Tom, did you catch any piece of it?
I tried to watch some of it. And struggled. It's fair to say. Not that purely down to my poor internet connection, which I'm hoping is holding up at the moment. But I mean, it dragged a bit in the first 20, and then someone messaged me and said, "Would you like to go on the Xbox?" And I thought, yes.
Sometime.
The commitment to the cause is strong.
I absolutely could see that. I sat there like a mook and watched the entire game because I take this podcast seriously and I want to be able to speak from a.
I don't have anything to run like that.
Slightly less uneducated standpoint than I normally am. So we'll move quickly on this one because it was really kind of a bit more of the same. It was generally pretty underwhelming performance in this game, but for 10 minutes at the end of the first half, they kind of turned it on a little bit. For me, the man of the match this time was Nacho. He had a strong game plan in the back three. He was amazing on the ball, perfect touch on a couple of assists. First finding Giroud at the near post for a typical Giroud finish, and then a long ball placed to a strong forward runner in Ramsey, who's starting to look good in that Xhaka partnership a little bit. But great stuff from the Notchster. Have you heard, Tom, of the internet-fueled just the Giroud Lacazette thing?
Yes, I have. I actually tweeted something about
it. Yeah, and we both know a few people mutually who made quite a big deal about it. And I just think it's much ado about nothing. I mean, for anyone who's seen the two of them off the pitch, it doesn't appear that and actually Andy or Adam Hoffman will kind of shed some light on that in our conversation at the end of the pod. But there doesn't seem to be any problem there. I mean, can you seriously try to read that much into it, or are we just that bored during the summer that we have to read that much into the fact that he kind of just ran by and didn't hug him or take his shirt off or start sword fighting or cross a stranger?
Yeah.
What was he supposed to do?
I mean, part of me, I'll be honest with you, my first instinct when I saw it was like, that is a little bit intriguing. And then I realised that, and I put my actual thinking football cap on, and thought that both these guys are winners, and they are very. I mean, we know about Giroud's egotistical side, and he wants to be the guy that's scoring goals. He wants to be the one who scores. So when someone else scores, he'll be happy because he's his teammate, but he'll still be thinking like, I want to win and I want to be the one who's scoring. I mean, you think about Cristiano Ronaldo, the best player, voted currently the Ballon d'Or best player in the world. When someone else scores, he is not the most excitable man on the pitch 9 times out of 10. So it doesn't mean that he's going to go, I no longer want to play with Gareth Bale or Luka Modric or whatever. He's just disappointed that he wasn't the one who scored the goal. So no, I wouldn't read too much into it now, although I have a feeling that Giroud is going to be tempted away this summer, but ultimately, he doesn't have the leverage on Arsene Wenger to allow that to happen, because he's under contract. He signed one very recently, and he's going to be tied down to the clubs for a couple more years still.
And in this case, Giroud getting the goal and not really running to anybody, but ran past Lacazette. I guess there's it's also been said that he refused to pass to Lacazette during the game, which I to be fair, wasn't watching closely enough to really observe that. But, I do think that's kind of like at this time of the morning, we must have nothing better to do than to try to create a rift between two players based on that narrative. But I hope we don't. I've been on record as saying I love Giroud. I don't love him as a starter. I don't think he should be playing full minutes. I like him as a plan B, like just about most people say, but I think it would be a mistake to sell him, especially for 15 to 20, like it's been rumored. I think he's got a lot to offer, and you're a Giroud guy, right, Andy?
I don't mind him. I think he's a great squad player. I've always said that. He frustrates me with his style of play, and I love the fact we brought in Laka because it's going to only boost him on the pitch. He's going to want to prove to everyone that he should be our main man, and that's what we need in this squad is players who are going to come in and walk straight into our starting 11, players who are going to come in and make the rest of the team better, and that's what's happened here. And I don't read into the high five thing was weird. I mean, Lacazette was kind of on his blind side, and so who knows? But I don't read into the whole he's not passing to him, because if that's the case, he can fuck off. He's a professional.
I didn't see that
exactly, and I didn't either. And I watched the extended highlights, so I didn't see the entire match. But there's no way a player of his caliber is not going to pass to someone on the pitch. He's taken Giroud specifically has taken his demotions, if you want to call it that, his more limited minutes as a result of this, that, or the other thing. He's taken it the right way, where he just shows he fights, he gets on the pitch, he scores. When he scores, he has that look on his face like, this is what I do. Are you not entertained at this point? But he seems more to the type to fight than to whine and start stomping his feet and acting out like a certain one of his teammates does. But so he did well, and I don't think there's any kind of problems there between him and Lacazette. I do have a problem with Lacazette starting in that game and not getting a goal. I mean, at this point, I think you have to consider trying to get what you can for him. Yeah, and I think that we should probably put him back on the market, because
And I would take 30, 35 for him at this point, because if he's not going to score against Western Sydney, right. I mean, Tom, are we?
I am in agreement with whatever you'd like to say on the matter.
in other words, I just started a game of...
Someone just went to Tom 10 minutes ago, hey, you want to go on Xbox? No, I'm not doing anything. That's fine.
I'm winning 2-0 on FIFA. Leave me alone.
Dude, we need to exchange Xbox handles or whatever so we can play some FIFA against each other.
Nerds. All right,
it's fine. Say play, you mean lose, right?
Yeah, probably.
So another player performing quite well in a position we'll probably never see him in again, because it won't be preseason forever, was Mo Elneny. He did quite well, very serviceable job against this level of competition. And I mean, 2 moments of the game, a couple of shots on goal, one of them deflected just way off course into the goal for a cheapie that he probably wouldn't have scored. The other, just a beautiful curled shot from I think outside the box, just rattling against the post. But he looked like he was having a little bit of fun. Again, a good squad player, good guy to have on the bench as opposed to somebody that you've never heard of before. But overall, team did a job. They got out of there seemingly healthy. I guess we'll find out if any knocks were taken, but they do have to work between now and Wednesday for Bayern. They got to work on the part of the game where they're not shooting directly at the keeper.
Why are we playing Bayern? It's honest. I honestly cannot think of why we would include ourselves in some. Actually, I can think of why we would include ourselves. Yeah. I know exactly why we're going to include ourselves. But like, we think we've escaped the mire of playing Bayern Munich, and it's the only reason. It's the only reason I come up with why we failed to achieve Champions League football is because we were trying to avoid playing Bayern Munich next season, and yet somehow we've now got them in a pre-season game where we're going to get stuffed, and the confidence will be out of us again. It's going to be 10-2 in 90 minutes rather than 108.
I ran a second Twitter poll this weekend. I don't know if you saw it, but the what was your prediction for Arsenal and Bayern Munich on Wednesday? And there were three choices. They were 5-1 Bayern, Arsenal 1, Bayern 5. And Bayern Munich 5, Arsenal 1. Someone did have come back and suggest a scoreline that included those same scores, but in Roman numerals. So, but there doesn't seem to be any other option for how it's going to turn out.
No,
actually, we'll probably beat them, and everyone will think, "Oh, wow, we're better now."
It's on. Here, Bayern are incredible with their transfer windows, because how did they secure James for a 2-year loan? I mean, Tom, you know a lot about La Liga. Are they paying out of their ass for this, or because that seems to be an incredible signing?
Tom, you're like, Tom, you know a lot about La Liga, and he's like, yeah.
Hold on, Xbox. Let me just pause it quick.
Wait, did I hear La Liga? I got to start paying attention again.
No, people have been giving me praise on Twitter recently, whether it's indirectly or directly, about my La Liga knowledge. No, on a serious tone, they're paying less than 10 million euros a season for the 2 years, and then there's an option to buy of around 35 million euros, around that figure, if they decide they want to keep him.
So it's a transfer for 55 million euros with the ability to get out of it if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I don't get how Bayern do. I really don't. They must have the best negotiation team where if it's, you see these memes of Arsenal, and they say we want 50 million, and then we say 25, and they're like, we want 50, 30, we want 50, 35, 50. Okay, we'll give you 50. Okay, deal.
No, then they said they want 60.
Yeah, and okay, we'll take it. And with Bayern, it's a case of the complete opposite. Like, they ask for 25, we'll say we'll give you 5. Okay.
No shit. It's just like they're incredible at it. And at the end of the day, like 10 million a season, if James, if he plays there and he does well for them, he'll make that up by knocking a couple of goals in and securing their Champions League future or whatever it is. But that's just unbelievable pieces of business that they continue to do. And you're right. Like, whoever is doing their dealings, that person just must be paid in gold bars. I mean, it's unbelievable.
His name is whatever the opposite of Dick Law is, which I guess would be like
Vagina.
Like vagina illegal.
Vagina crime. Yeah.
Vagina crime.
Yeah.
Well, the podcast has been named.
Yeah, I was just about to say, we've definitely got the name of the Vagina crime master negotiator. Oh, boy. All right, so the games are over. We have to, of course, address the massive controversy with the third kit. It has been released.
Yeah, what are your boys' thoughts on it? I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's great.
Tom?
I think the support, it's been fantastic, to be honest. That's the part of the Arsenal player I've really tuned in for, is seeing the players like step off the bus or the plane and seeing the support of all the fans has been excellent.
Andy and I are now thinking to ourselves, did he really hear the question?
No, I didn't.
We asked we asked about the third kit. Did you?
Oh, we've hit rock bottom. Fuck's sake, Tom.
At that time, it genuinely was the internet connection. I heard like bits of what you were saying, and I'm like, do I mention whether I can actually hear what he's saying or not?
Oh,
do I just run with what I think he said?
Yes. So the support is fantastic, but what do you think about the third kit?
This has backfired on my part horrendously.
And we're not editing this out. This is staying in.
No, this is fantastic.
They're going to tweet me like, I really like this podcast, and you're not listening to what the guys are saying. No, no, the third kit, it's nice. Have you seen the second, the away kit that's been leaked as well? It's dreadful.
Yeah, it's dreadful.
It is dreadful. And I'm trying to think of past kits that have been awful. I really didn't, and I've got it because it was the year that Ozil signed. That yellow with the blue collar, I really didn't like it.
I have that one.
Blue collar. The collar I didn't like. So I loved the yellow away kits because obviously it is the Arsenal thing with yellow. I just didn't like that one in particular. I thought the shade was a bit off, and the color, the collar and that. I just don't like collars. I don't know.
I don't either. I mean, I said this to Adam, but I mean, like the collar, is it supposed to allow me to wear it into work where normally I wouldn't? I mean, it's you can't wear it in a formal situation either way. So why have a collar on there?
I don't have to wear one every day.
But I do love the rest of the kit. I've bought. My entire family now has one on its way. I got my son and I Lacazette kits with the pink lettering, which is finally available.
That's cool.
And
funded Stan Kroenke's next venture.
I hate to say it, but
hey, as long as Stan keeps bringing in £50 million players, I'll buy the kit.
I'm a sucker.
I'll buy the kit.
So the Lamar rumors.
Yeah. So
Tom, Lamar's clearly a better prospect than Asensio, isn't he? I had to get an Asensio kick. That time you heard me, you just don't believe what I just said.
Tom never bit the bait with Asensio on Twitter when I posted the picture saying that he was being rumored to sign for Real Madrid. All these people got so mad.
Did you tweet that directly to me?
No. I just tweeted it out, and I texted Mike immediately after. I said, "Bait."
After all your tweets, so you put the wrong photo. Oh, I think I muted your Twitter. I don't want to see this anymore.
But on this one, I just put Asensio in a Spanish national kit, and it just said rumored to be on his way to Real Madrid.
People are like, "Oh, he's already there. What do you mean rumored?" Andy wrestled control of the Twitter account from me for a few weeks and got us into a lot of trouble. But
did you put Lacazette and put a picture of Benzema up? Is that what?
Yes.
Oh dear.
What was the one I put? Something about Gustavo, and I put a picture of Gus from Breaking Bad up there. That's where it was starting to become a little less believable.
My favorite one, though, is how many Baconators do you owe people, Mike?
I don't owe any Baconators. You have me owing about 190 people Baconator fries, which right. I attempted to mail one, and apparently the Postal Service did not appreciate that. So yeah, you got to stop committing me to things that I've got to hold up. But if we do sign Lamar, you are in debt for at least a dozen. What are they called? T-Rex burgers.
Those things were
like 19 burger patties. But enough about food because I am getting hungry.
So I need to know what Baconator fries are. You need to tell me.
Google.
Okay.
If
I go on my phone, I'm not going to be able to hear what you're saying.
Well, Google it after the podcast.
It's just basically fries with tons of cheese and bacon on top.
Yeah. But they go well with a Baconator burger, which I have connected to myself with an IV.
That's what it is.
So let's go to the Lamar rumors because Mr. Ornstein came out today and said Arsenal growing less optimistic of signing Lamar, still trying, but other Monaco exits reduce chances. Intention remains to keep Sanchez. #AFC.
Yeah, that's not good news. I mean, their public stance on Lamar seems to be, we're making an absurd price tag on him because we don't want to sell him. And, we're not Bayern Munich, so our 40 million pounds and our 45 million pounds are not working in this case. At what point do we just pull the trigger on Mahrez and say goodbye to Lamar, Tom?
On Asensio. No.
Tom, love the support. Support's been great.
No, I'm with Lamar. I mean, I really like the guy, and I've seen a fair amount of him when he played in the Champions League. I'm not a watcher of Liga. I do a lot of research when I have to write about it, although others might contradict that. But I just think that Mahrez is someone who is going to be the backup option. As you said, do we pull the trigger? I think yes, we do pull the trigger if we're not going to go for Lamar. But I think we should push the boat out. If these rumours about Chambers and Gibbs and the like to be taken as truthful, then we're going to get another nice handy bit of cash over £40 million, and we should use that and try and properly push Monaco to do it. But I think Monaco are going to be holding on to him until they at least find another replacement, because whilst their profits have been going through the roof, they're not spending money at all, really, and they have not been replacing the players they're losing with any great quality. I find it staggering that they've yet to make it, and it's going to be an interesting summer for them in the last remaining month or so.
But can we afford to have this saga, though, go on into the end of August? I mean, this needs to be resolved one way or the other before the Emirates Cup, as far as I'm concerned, because it's the type of thing that can affect the first few weeks of the season. Just this, the having our eyes set on one player and missing the one that we could really get, kind of a la Higuain a few years ago. It's got some bad writing on the wall to me that it's not getting closed. If we can't just push it out there and maybe offer, 58 to 60, which is probably way too much. If we really want him that badly, he's 21. We can, likely sell him on after 3 to 5 years if he, and make money off of it. So. We either just got to do that, and if they really don't want to sell, then move on to Mahrez and get him in the squad as soon as possible to bed in with the rest of the players.
I think someone put it on Twitter, which was pretty funny. At this point, wouldn't it just be cheaper to buy Monaco, the club, and then transfer the players? I thought that was good.
That is good.
But I echo both of you. It'd be nice to get it over the line. It's nice to see that we are still actively in the transfer market. If you bring in a player of Lamar's quality, you are saying goodbye to a fair few. But does that not say to Alexis, like, hey, we're doing stuff here? Or is this going to be a replacement?
You'd think. But that's where we find. And I swore I wasn't going to get into Alexis because I had literally stayed up until 8:00 in the morning a couple Fridays ago with my friend Jack Daniels and Twitter, and just posted about Alexis. I was feeling quite negative about the man at the time. Then I kind of got over it a little bit, and now I'm back to feeling quite negative about the guy. So. I think he's going to be made to look like a liar. I mean, if he really wants to compete and he wants to get back in the Champions League, then show up, do what you can to carry the team like you did last year, and they're building around it. Otherwise, if you just want to go up the street and cash a paycheck and try to hop on a team that's already stacked, then you're just a rent boy. Fuck off. I'm just sick of it.
Damn.
Last year, Wenger submarined most of the season with his uncertainty, and this year it's going to be Alexis.
Here's my concern with Alexis: the majority of stories coming out are being created by the Daily Star, by the Mirror. Do these fuckers really know what's going on?
Who are you calling a fucker at the Mirror?
No, I'm just saying. Does anyone Does anyone that? Yeah, we've had John on the pod. I get that, but do any of these people actually have the inside scoop? You know what I'm saying? No one knows. Sanchez hasn't done anything or come out in the press and said.
Yeah, the fact is, there's probably no inside scoop.
No, there is none, and he hasn't come out and alluded to anything. He's just saying, "I'll handle it after the Confederations Cup." and he's obviously still on holiday. So at the end of the day, maybe he does come back and sign. Who knows? But Tom, you know Lamar probably better than Mike and I, because outside of the Arsenal, the only thing Mike does is eat Baconators. Would he be a direct replacement for Sanchez in the next 2 seasons?
Nice. I also masturbate, so come on. You're giving me really not enough credit.
Would he be a direct replacement?
In 2 or 3 seasons.
In 2 or 3 seasons?
Yeah.
Tricky to think about in 2 to 3 seasons' time. If we were to get him in this season, I mean, he scored around 10 goals and a similar number of assists in Liga for Monaco. He's left-footed, not right-footed like Alexis, so obviously that means he would then be put on the right wing, because we know how much Wenger loves to invert his wingers for no apparent reason when we're playing a massive target man up front we need to cross to. Although that may be different now, like I said. But in 2 to 3, I think he's one of the hottest prospects in Europe at 21 years old. I think that he's got the quality to be a really good player, and this is where the divide occurs with Mahrez. Is if we go for Mahrez, you've already got that player who's won the Premiership's PFA Player of the Year award. He's already won the league, or some would say that's a fluke, but I mean it's over 38 games, so to say it is a fluke I find difficult to go along with, and he's performed really well, and I think we even saw signs of Mahrez's form before he even won the league, when he played against Arsenal and he wasn't really heard of, and he ripped us to shreds on that right hand side. But going back to Lamar, if we were to sign him, it's going to cost, like as Mike said, we should probably push the boat out to 58-60 million, whether he's worth it or not at this point, and just get the saga over and done with, and say to Monaco, name your price and we'll get him. Although if you say that to Monaco, they might say 120 million with the way they're going with Mbappe, but seriously. I think that I think we need the extra signing, because of our hatred for Walcott aside. There is a lack of quality in the wide areas. I don't think you can play Ozil on that right wing for an entire season. I think there'll become a point where the system will go stale, just like our 4-2-3-1 did 4 years ago, and we'll need to revert or change it up again and fresh things up when people start to work out the 3-4-2-1 or whatever we're playing. So I think that it's important that you mix it up, and Lamar's certainly someone who can be unpredictable, that not many of the teams in the league will know too much about, and will be able to come in and be this unpredictable force that could score a lot of goals for us, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I had never heard of Lamar before I'd say the last 6 months or so. And I mean, I thought they were talking about the guy from Revenge of the Nerds, but apparently this guy's good. So,
with that point, Mike, most people hadn't heard of him. That don't. Of course, no one.
I hadn't heard of Mbappe until.
Well, does this indicate the type of signing that makes Sanchez happy, coupled with La Gazette, or do you still think, hey, we still need a couple more pieces to this puzzle?
Do you mean that? Does that alone? If we bring in Lamar coupled with La Gazette, does that alone say to Sanchez, coupled with Kolasinac?
Let's not forget him.
That combined with maybe getting rid of a few people, and that maybe Sanchez identified as being a problem. I don't know if he's really paying that close attention to who he wants out rather than who he wants in. But those 3 moves combined should at least cause him to stop saying he wants to go to Man City, if in fact he's really come out and said that, or that he wants to play Champions League this year, which is the statement that I'm hearing that bothers me. Because you're not in the Champions League because your team that you played on didn't make it.
Right.
So then they went if we get Lamar, spend over £100 million for the second season in a row, getting world class or nearly world class players. At least play out the contract. If you don't want to sign an extension until you see in January whether it's a better and more competitive team, fine. But enough with the transfer agitation. It's just agitating. I guess that's why they call it that. So let's go. It should be. It's not like we've sat on our ass and just signed a goalkeeper this summer, and Sanchez is wondering like, what the fuck. I mean, we've done and we're doing what needs to be done for once.
Let's go to transfers outside of Arsenal. So Lukaku goes to United for $90 million. Is that right?
Dollars, maybe. It was £75 million, I think.
Yeah, but then coupled, did the Rooney deal go through with that?
Well,
there are add-ons which could see it rise to 90.
But based on his performance against the LA Galaxy yesterday, I don't think he's going to hit any of those add-ons.
Well, is he so legitimate question? So I'll go to Tom on this one first. Is he really
because it's a legitimate question?
Is he really worth $40 million more than Lacazette?
It's a tough one. It's tough because, and I'll tell you why it's tough. And I'm glad we got Lacazette out of the pair. However, what you have to admit and look at is that he has an incredible goal record for Everton in the league that he will be remaining inside of. Lacazette has an incredible goal record. Well, I don't care about the penalty side of things. People can go do one or do that. You still have to put in the back of the net at the end of the day. And he's in a different league. What's fortunate is that it's not like he's coming from La Liga or the Bundesliga. Liga is a very physical league, and therefore he'll be remaining inside of a physical league by coming to the Premier League as well. We've seen success of other players come from Liga to the Premier League and do well, which worries me about Bernardo Silva at Manchester City. But I think that I don't think he's worth 30 million more, just for the case that he remained in the Premier League. And his goal record against the bigger clubs isn't amazing.
It's like saying Lukaku's as good as Lacazette and Walcott combined.
Yes, so he's as good as Lacazette. Yeah, it doesn't worry me. Let's put it like that. The signing of Lukaku does not worry me in terms of making Manchester United any more competitive, because I think they already had a fantastic striker in Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I don't think he'll add any more goals.
At best, he just fills in where
exactly.
the production that Ibrahimovic had before he got hurt.
It doesn't make them stronger than they were last season. That's how I look at it, to be honest.
And they're rumored. They're still rumored to be in for Morata even after signing Lukaku.
That still would not. That wouldn't make him any stronger than them either. I'm not really. I go back and forth with Morata, so he hasn't come good as much as I thought he would at first. And I think that Serie A is the place that he needs to be to improve his career.
Yeah, well, it is an interesting summer. There's been Man City seems to be slowing down a little bit. They're waiting just for their one man that happens to be ours, perhaps. But the next month and a half should be pretty interesting as far as transfers are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at
Were there
Chelsea,
any other ones?
No, I was just going to say, if you look at Chelsea, Costa seems to be out the door. I think. With Lukaku going to United, I think us getting Lacazette early was great. I mean, it just seems like Aubameyang might be that Chelsea striker. But
I hope not.
I hope not as well. But Tom, any thoughts on Chelsea and Tottenham not really bringing anyone of stature yet?
Yeah, Tottenham interests me a lot. I don't know how much their lack of spending is to do with the stadium move. I was talking to a good mate of mine who comes on the Gooners Talk, Wayne, about it and about how it's...
Is that Dinklage?
It is Dinklage, yeah, Wayne Dinklage. He's a fantastic story if you ask him why he's actually called that. And he basically was saying that the price of the stadium has gone up and up and up, and it's gone up a lot more than they actually thought it was going to cost. And my argument is that if they do sell players like they have with Kyle Walker, they're getting inflated prices, and it's not the case that it was with us. And I think that they will cope with the stadium move a lot better than we did, because we had to sell our players in a market where player prices were at a much lower level, and they're selling players in a period where they're much higher. But at the same time, the price of a stadium hasn't gone up in a correlation with the price of players going up. So they should have an easier time riding out the storm. But it's whether it's now how they ride that storm. Thankfully, Arsene Wenger did the greatest job, which I thought any manager could do. I think it's up there as an achievement with the likes of the Invincibles, how he managed to keep us financially viable and in the Champions League during a period where we had to sell players year upon year upon year. It's people's prerogative whether we had to do that or not, but I look at it and think that we did have to do that in order to maintain our financial stability and to achieve Champions League qualification each year to gain more financial stability. So it's going to be interesting to see how Spurs cope with that. In terms of Chelsea, before very quickly, I should say that I think Spurs had the best team last season. I think they did, and I think going into this season, only losing Kyle Walker when they've got Kieran Trippier, who also performed excellently, isn't too much of a dent in their arsenal. That's an ironic comment to say. But it isn't a dent in their armoury. Another ironic comment. But I think that it's important to look at Chelsea in a way that Diego Costa looks like he's going to be off, which puts a lot more pressure on their striking department. I don't know if you saw the video of him dancing in Atletico Madrid shirt, which was quite amusing. Yeah,
that was classy. Stay classy, Diego Costa.
Yeah.
And then you've got apparent links coming out today that they're really interested in Aguero of Man City, and Pep would be apparently fine with that happening. I find that madness, but he's not a big fan of Aguero, like he ironically wasn't of Alexis Sanchez when he was at Barcelona due to his decisions to ignore some of Pep's directions. But I think that it's going to be interesting to see who else they sign, who else they're linked with. But ultimately, they've brought in Bakayoko, who's a very strong central midfielder that should play next to Kante and have great synergy, comparing them to their days in the French national team. So I think they will be okay. Chelsea, and I think they'll be up there just like last time. Spurs, it's going to be a case of who they can bring in. I think they need another striker because Janssen was just a piss poor replacement of Harry Kane when he was injured. So I'm intrigued to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that it's nice to see we're not the team that are in that stalemate right now, because we always usually are July going into August where we haven't signed anyone. It's nice to see that we've brought in two great additions, and we're still looking for more. So, Mike, let's go to Andy's musings, because I got a great one this week. So, 4 players have been sacked from Brazilian club Sport Club Gaucho for masturbating in the locker room. Apparently, 3 dudes were jerking. The 4th was filming on camera, but he was also
apparently, which is supposed to mean you didn't watch the video, but No,
I didn't watch the video, but 3 dudes were jerking. The 4th was filming on his camera, also jerking. So pretty fucked up. But the story doesn't end there. What I love is the response of the club president. He said,
you got to do this with the accent.
No. When I hit play on the recording, I instantly deleted it. I think it's disgusting. Outside of business hours, we have nothing to do with the situation. If they want to go get drunk, be gay or not, that's their problem. So, Mike, the moral to the story is if you're going to masturbate in a group of people on camera, don't let it appear to be gay. I think that's the takeaway from this story.
That's your takeaway from
the story? That was my takeaway.
See, my takeaway was don't do it in the locker room.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, why does the dude just focus on it being an act of 4 dudes being gay together? It's just like he should have just come up being like, they got fired because they were doing something inappropriate in our club.
That's what I thought happened, but this kind of makes Szczesny look like a choir boy, doesn't it? Apparently, the club did not fire these players. They didn't sack them. They just sent them to Roma on loan. And a few years from now, people will say they've grown up and that they rarely ever masturbate in the locker room anymore. Because Roma's apparently where you go to mature yourself.
And then they're all going to get sold for Juve for next to nothing.
Yeah, for next to nothing whatsoever. Tom, your thoughts on that?
I don't really know where to go.
Are you also a master in Brazilian football as well? I mean, what do you know?
How much is this going to affect Sport Club Gaucho?
I was really going to attempt to try and talk professionally there, and then I just ran through what might have been come out of my mouth, and I decided no, I'm not even going to bother this. I mean, I just think about that situation with the Leicester players. Dear, with those videos that went on. So, and Matthew Valbuena comes to mind as well, and his dealings. So many. It's something like these footballers have all this money in the world and yet still seem to get into trouble. It's a weird correlation between more money and more trouble. So,
more money, more problems. It does seem that though, when you do that kind of a thing, you end up winning the league a year or two later. So maybe this is the best thing that ever happened to Sports Club. Gotcha.
What division in Brazil were they? Do you know?
They were a lower division, I believe.
They're in the jerking division. Oh man! All right, so we have 2 games this week. We've already talked about the confusion of Bayern and playing why we're playing against the team who employs vagina crime. And then, of course, we get to play Chelsea in China as well. Any takeaways you're expecting to get one way or the other from these games? Do you care if we win? Do you care if we lose?
Are you talking about the games or how I play on FIFA while they're on?
We don't care. We don't care.
We don't care. No.
On your own personal time. I don't care if you're playing FIFA. If you want to get drunk, be gay. That's your problem.
Just don't let it appear to be gay, Tom.
No, don't let it appear to be. I think that it'll be a good exercise to see how the likes of Lacazette, Kolasinac, and whoever else, we might sign someone and they suddenly turn up for the day of the match. You never know. Football's a magical game. But I think it's a good opportunity to see how they fare against some higher quality players and see how we fare as a team against some of the others. But obviously, we're still going to field. I think we'd be naive to think we aren't going to let the likes of Nelson and Nikita to have chances against some of these big players and see how they fare. Obviously, the disparity between the quality in the youth teams in England and first team football is a lot bigger than people actually realise. So I think that it's going to be a good opportunity, but at the same time, it's another friendly. So yay!
Yeah, exactly. And apparently, it's brutally hot in China where they are, and as evidenced by Theo tweeting out a picture of himself literally dipping in a bin. He was like in what looked like as we would call it, a trash can full of ice water. I'm sure it was some therapeutic something, but he was taking a dip in a bin, which I thought was just extremely suitable and ironic. But it's going to be hot. I will be waking up and watching these matches, so you guys don't have to. We'll, I'm sure, have something to say about those in our next podcast. But
let's just hope we get through them injury free. That's the biggest thing is see us play well, get through injury free, don't lose 10-2. And
will Alexis show up with a Bayern kit on and take the field for them?
Maybe.
That would be nice.
Is that what Tom meant by players just signing on the day of the match?
He's on vacation. He's in the ocean. Wait, he's in Munich. What the fuck? All right, we have a few updates on some new countries tuning in. Since our last podcast, we've added 3 new countries. Number 88 is Belarus. Thank you to Alexander Hleb for joining us and listening. Country 89 is Oman.
Okay.
How was that pronounced? Do you ever play as Oman on FIFA?
I think it is Oman. I really should know that as a geography specialist. But
it's Theo's favorite country because, oh man, he sucks.
Oh man, he sucks.
And then country number 90 and 90A, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So I think St. Vincent. I mean, I don't think much of St. Vincent, but the Grenadines, I'm so excited about.
I heard they keep really good company out there.
They do. It's a nice pair. So just to kind of finish things off before we go to the interview with Adam, most of our listeners, it seems, are tuning in on iTunes and through the website. But if you want to get in on the ground floor of an amazing opportunity,
visit our MySpace page.
You can actually. I was prepared to forward people to our MySpace and our Prodigy account, but YouTube, you can sign up, get notified whenever we post new content, and please, if you do that, give us a thumbs up and a review so that we can kind of get excited or devastated by what you have to say. SoundCloud, we're posting our podcasts on now. Stitcher, you can bid on one of.
Just go bust.
I think that they're about to. So as long as they're not bust, we'll be uploading them, and then when they're finished, we'll be posting our podcast on eBay for you to bid on. It'll be a negative bidding process where
we're going to start paying you to listen.
Yeah. So we're also posting a podcast every day between now and the Community Shield from our first season. So if you have any interest in catching up on what we've been up to last season, we're up to mid-January right now, which is also known as when the season started falling apart. So enjoy that.
Say, you cruel bastards.
Enjoy that.
What pod was Tom on last?
It was, I don't know the number, but it was in.
I feel like you paid way more attention on that one.
Yeah, it was Craig that ran off because of some kid thing.
At least I stayed.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you stayed because your FIFA match wasn't over yet.
Yeah.
But Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure having you back. You guys are going to be meeting in person and hanging out a little bit in a few weeks, aren't you?
I hope so. I'm still waiting on Arsenal America pulling through on those tickets, but I do hope to meet up with Tom and Lee and the boys to attend that Leicester match.
I'm jealous AF of that, but you keep up the kind of conversation you're having in our WhatsApp chat, Andy, and you're going to be standing at Pybury Corner waiting for people who are never showing up.
Yeah, Andy, we'll be there at 6. We're running late. To stay there.
It's the Pybury Corner at King's Cross, Andy. Just remember that one.
Yeah, it's the second location. They just opened. Yeah.
The one that isn't connected to Arsenal, that's the one you should go to.
You guys suck.
So, yes, this has been episode 2.01, Vagina Crime, Master Negotiator. And now, for a special treat, a really fun conversation I had with our buddy Adam Hoffman, who joined us last year for our like I said, our New Year's podcast, which at the time was our best podcast of 2017. But he's been down in Australia for a week and to do some pretty exciting things with the team, and a certain former member of the team that has been paying quite a lot of attention to Adam lately. So I hope you'll enjoy the interview, and come on, you Gooners.
All right. With us once again is Adam Hoffman. Welcome back, Adam. Great to have you on the pod.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. It's been a while.
Yeah, good to be back.
Yeah, you joined us for our first pod of 2017, which was done on New Year's Day, which happens to be the one where we all orgasmed about Giroud's scorpion kick. So it's nice to have you back. There's a little bit of a delay on the call because you are where exactly right now?
I'm currently outside of the central business district of Sydney.
Oh, cool. Excellent. There's no Aussie accent that I'm interpreting, though. I mean, you haven't been down there long enough?
No, I was practicing earlier. Didgeridoo, shrimp on the Barbie, football. That was about as far as I got.
So you're working on the sayings, but the accent is not exactly happening, it doesn't seem. So
yeah.
So
exactly.
If I have my dates right, last year when Arsenal came to LA, you were serving overseas, and so you obviously weren't able to make it. You were off doing much more important and valuable things. So, I mean, does that kind of what drove you to travel so far around the world and be a part of this one? I mean, how did this get started?
Yes, they announced it last year while I was gone, and so that I had, everybody in the States, well, I don't want to say everybody, but, a lot of people in the States, to come to Australia, right, is always kind of like a bucket list thing, and I can remember distinctly sitting on the plane coming back from Germany on my way to Baltimore, to come back from deployment, and like sitting on this plane where we're like packed in there like a bunch of sardines. And when we had stopped in Germany, we had actually picked up some families that were, on stateside as well. So there's like kids screaming on the plane and stuff. And, you look up at the, the GPS map that the airplane provides you, and like, we're just like in the middle of the Atlantic, just staring at blue forever. And I'm like, I'm going to die on this plane. I'm going to blow my brains out if I don't land soon, kind of thing. And then, that was only an 8-hour flight from south of Germany into Baltimore. And then I had done a rough bit of, research on the flight over here. And my flight to get me here was 16 hours, 50 minutes. Oh. So I was like, I've got to be, effing mental to be able to consider this flight,
Well, especially because apparently you don't drink. I mean, that's the only way to make 16 hours go by on a plane.
Yeah, so I don't drink. And I had actually, a guy that I work with had been over to Asia, and he was like, "Oh, just grab some NyQuil or something." And I was like, "Okay," So So I grabbed a box of NyQuil, and knock on wood, I didn't have to touch any of it on the flight over here. Granted, when I left Dallas at nearly midnight Eastern time, and then it was pretty much dark the entire time on the plane. We landed in Sydney about 6:15 a.m., and because it's winter down here, right, the sunrise is like 0700, and sunsets right around 5 p.m. So it's definitely because it's wintertime here or whatever. So that worked out well. As far as going home, I've got a lunchtime flight out of Sydney, and I actually land. Oddly enough, I land in Dallas a half hour after I take off. So,
that's not too bad then. It's a much quicker flight that way. Your
right?
time.
We need to bring the Concorde.
Yeah, you're time traveling. So tell us kind of. I'm sorry. Socially, on a trip like this, like, I mean, I know from the two American Arsenal summer tours, they were just kind of massive festivals of Goonerdom and kind of overwhelming a little bit just in the quantity of American Gooners there. But on a trip like this, I'm a little curious. Like, do you know a lot of people when you head over there? And once you're there, is it kind of Americans keeping to themselves, or does everybody just kind of intermix? And I mean, how's it been in the 6 days that you've been down there?
So there was I want to say 10 to 12 Americans that came down here. We had a Facebook group chat, so we were all kind of able to stay in touch. Some other people were going to New Zealand, and we all had different itineraries and stuff. But as far as myself, I've bumped into some Aussies and some folks from New Zealand, and we had a supporters group tournament Thursday morning before the first match. So I got to know some other people. And then today, actually, or this morning, I was luckily enough to be invited to represent Arsenal America, to be on a roundtable podcast recording that Arsenal did with Ray Parler. So that gave me an opportunity to meet. So there were 6 different countries that were represented. So I was able to meet a gentleman from Nepal, India, Singapore, New Zealand, and Australia. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
that is awesome. I mean, I want to bring up a couple of those events you just mentioned in a second, but I mean, do the home supporters, the Australian supporters that are hosting all this, I mean, are they surprised, amazed, or at all kind of impressed about how far people will come for basically a set of of summer friendlies?
Yeah, a lot of people, you get to tell them, how far you traveled here and whatnot, and they're kind of like, wow, that's pretty crazy. And but I was talking to some other Americans the other day, and it was like, it's great that all walks of life and different political views that we all have and stuff. At the end of the day, it reunites us that we're just Arsenal fans, and we just want to travel to see the team play and be a part of different team functions and stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, and I've pretty much said that in the past as well. I mean, a lot of people, not necessarily Arsenal supporters, but some Arsenal supporters, before the California trip, and this one was certainly even a bigger example of that. Like, why would you spend the money, take the time off work? Why would you do all that for a couple of friendlies? When you could probably, literally for those of us on the East Coast going to L.A. last year, and certainly for you, I mean, you could take that money and go over to London and probably stay for a couple of weeks and go to a couple of games. But, it's not about the reality of the games. It's I mean, the Goonerdom. I mean, it's the fans there. And it sounds like that was really in full force on this trip.
Yeah, absolutely. The Aussies here have been fantastic. And just, you've had Aussies from every corner of the country here, and I don't think a lot of people back home realize how big Australia is. And it's been, and they've showed up with the Perth group had matching polos, and the people that came from New Zealand, they had matching polos done up, and it was really impressed to see how organized all these different groups were, and they're very ecstatic. It's been You're talking, almost 2 generations of Arsenal fans that haven't, had the team here. So So to say that they were happy about, seeing Arsenal is an understatement.
Oh yeah. And note to self, matching polos. Got to work on that. I need to bring that into the fold here. But, so, again, the games are pretty obvious. There's 2 games that the tour centers around, but I mean, clearly there's a ton of other events that are going on. You've mentioned a couple of them. So let's start with those. But the five-a-side tournament, now that was organized, I believe, by the supporters club, not by the team necessarily. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. However, the team showed up, and members from the Arsenal media staff played, and they had a designated player, like we back home know with the MLS, and Ray Parler played with them.
Oh, sweet.
So, so it was great. And again, it was just kudos to all the other organizations. They all showed up with, matching kits, top to bottom, socks and shorts and tops, and it was super impressive. And it was very competitive, and it was just a really good time. And unfortunately, the media team won, but it is what it is. I'm safe to say that the American team, we actually scored. We did win this time. We did win a game and drew one.
Did you nick one?
Lost 2, but I actually nicked a couple. I'm on a bad ankle. I need to have surgery, but I decided to postpone it so that I could play in this. But I got a couple and got a couple.
Can we give you 140,000 pounds a week and the number 14 to play for Arsenal? Sounds like we'd be a little better.
I don't. Walcott receives so much stick from us the entire time down here. It's actually kind of embarrassing. But, if you want to throw me 140K a week, I will. You can wrap me up, and I will play every week.
Once that sponsor money comes in from Wendy's with all the Baconator. Well, actually, I've probably spent 140,000 pounds on Baconators in the last 6 months. So I'll change my habits, and we'll give that to you because I think it would be an upgrade personally, and I'm sure Andy would agree. But so the five-a-side tournament went well. You showed off your skill and fitness. We'll get to the Ray Parler podcast in a minute because that was just yesterday morning or this morning or whatever time. Yeah, I guess it was this morning for you. There was a kit release. I think as they did last year in LA, they released the 3rd kit this year in Australia. Was that something you were able to be at?
No, I wasn't. Nick, who was part of Arsenal America, he was able to get invited down there. And so they had it. They have like an international passenger terminal, kind of like for Carnival Cruises and stuff. And they had it there, but there was some people that actually got ferried out to an island that's kind of out in the Sydney Harbor. That's where they did it. I'm not sure if you've seen the Facebook Live video. They did it. They put it on Facebook Live, and they brought the players out there on a yacht and had like a drum line and all kinds of stuff. But I wasn't able to view it. But it was from what I understand, there was only like 100 people that were invited out there. So
yeah, they go pretty extravagant, pretty exclusive. The word is that they learned some lessons from last summer where they had an open bar for 3 hours and about 150 American Gooners there, because that, I mean, I think that might end up costing the team Alexis Sanchez the money they spent on that. But so the news was kind of tepid about the kit release, but it's what do you think about the kit?
I personally am not a fan. I think the 2-tone collar looks dumb. They should have redone that, or just gone with the 1-tone collar. I've seen some leaked images of the second kit.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a fan of that.
Those are making the rounds today. I think that they might have accidentally shown it on the Arsenal player during the broadcast of the game this morning, and I think that's why it's really starting to go around.
I have a feeling they're probably going to do something with it in China, but who knows? They actually, I don't know if the pink goalkeeper kit was supposed to be like an official thing, but on Thursday night they had the goalkeepers were wearing that. It was pink with black lettering, and that looked really sharp. I'm just not a fan of the two-tone collar. I think it looks pretty dumb.
I'm not a fan of collars on soccer jerseys kits at all. I mean, what is the point of a collar? I mean, it's supposed to allow me to wear it to work, whereas I otherwise wouldn't be. I mean, it's not. It just seems a little bit odd, but I guess it's been that way for a long time. Every couple of years, we got a collar. So I've seen pictures of you on Facebook with various trophies. The FA Cup, I'm guessing that was the one from this past May.
Yeah, actually, I was I mistakenly sent an image of that to my friends that are Chelsea supporters.
Oh yeah, but, how could you be so insensitive?
Right, but yeah, what are you going to do?
I accidentally sent them 500 images of the FA Cup.
But so that was at the after the Ray Parler interview. We had a couple minutes to do some pictures with them and get pictures of those trophies and stuff. And so they had the Invincibles trophy and then this year's FA Cup trophy, which I didn't realize that's a new trophy as of 2014. The FA produced a new one, and we've won that 3 times. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Did they just put our name on it permanently at this point?
Yeah. I mean, heck yeah, might as well, right?
Now, to me, the picture...
Keep winning more trophies and winning more trophies and Spurs' temporary home.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, we're Arsenal, and all we do is win trophies. I mean, it's always been that way. We never have trophy droughts. It's just that's what we do. Speaking of the trophy, the Invincibles trophy was a nice touch. I don't believe that they've taken that on tour before. At least I haven't seen it. And it looked like it was just sitting there on a ledge. Like, I mean, like, is that how they treat their stuff?
So it's actually kind of funny. We were told, during that process and when we were doing, pictures and stuff that, so they were told to feel free to take pictures. But it was kind of jokingly, well, it was said in jest that, I'll kill you if you knock it over kind of thing. And I said to one of the other guys, I wonder what the insurance policy on the trophies is. But, it was more or less just kind of sitting on a ledge. So,
I mean, and the picture has
before we started the interview.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, before we started the interview, they had to stop because they realized that the lid for the FA Cup had been, they said that Ian Blayman had been screwing with it. And so they had to stop and fix the lid.
Knowing him, he probably took a piss in it, considering that he doesn't. We've all seen the video of him going behind the goal in Stuttgart, so I wouldn't put it past him. But so the pictures of you with the Invincibles trophy makes it look like you and the trophy are just hanging out solo in a room together. But I'm guessing there was some level of security just outside the frame of the picture.
Yeah, just a little bit. But it was super cool. We were I don't want to say given free reign, but given tons of opportunities to take pictures and stuff. And actually that event backed up to the fan cruise that they had, in which Ray Parler was in attendance of as well. So we were trying to hurry up and get given time to be with him, but at the same time trying to get him over to the cruise that they had. So and I believe the trophies were on the cruise too.
Ray Parler is literally stalking you. Do you realize that? I mean,
well, unfortunately, I wasn't on the cruise, so your theory has a small hole in it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose he was told you would be on the cruise, and by the time he realized that you weren't, it had already taken off. So, I mean, you can hardly blame the guy. But have you exchanged phone numbers and emails and all that at this point? You sound like best mates.
Somebody may or may have not slipped into somebody else's DMs.
Nice. From a guy who doesn't have Twitter. But so about Ray Parler, I mean, are you allowed to talk about the podcast, what you guys chatted about? I'm guessing it's not out yet because I think you had said it would be released later in the week. But, I mean, what was the general topic, if you can talk about what you spoke with him about?
So I guess he had a book that's coming out or came out recently. We were given some guidance on some things to ask, and we had to kind of pose some questions to the media team ahead of time, and they kind of wanted to steer the conversation around his career and kind of his thoughts around on the team and stuff like that. We were told, not to ask too much about, like transfer rumors and things like that. And
you didn't want to ask him about his 3 years at Middlesbrough?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but, for the most part, we were given free reign to, kind of talk. And one of the individuals, I think his name's Chris Harris, he was the MC of the thing. And I think we spent roughly 40 minutes recording the whole thing, and they said it had to be edited down. And they anticipated it being put on Facebook within probably, a few days. I guess they originally wanted to put it on Facebook Live, but the individual from Arsenal India, I guess, he does some social media work for Microsoft or something like that, and they had done another Facebook Live event earlier in the week, and doing that, there was some profanity heard in the background or something like that. So
well, not only that, but
clubs trying to.
Not only that, but when you say Ray Parler and Facebook Live, it brings me back to something that I guess it could be said I obsess over a little bit. But after the match at Sutton in the FA Cup in January, I believe it was, he goes into the locker room and there's a Facebook Live stream from the locker room of the Sutton players all sitting around kind of with Ray Parler holding court, drinking a beer, and this guy Gomes is just sitting there naked with his dick out, like in full glory. I mean, the pictures of it are just hilarious. I've tweeted it maybe 2,000-3,000 times to the point where the Sutton bloggers that we had on the pod last year are starting to wonder about me. But I would suspect that was probably the reason they didn't do a Facebook Live with Ray Parler, because there's an 80% chance someone's junk is going to be hanging out.
Well, it wasn't. To be fair, it wasn't the team hotel, so it was pretty cool. I was invited to be in there, but
that's nice.
And I did sit next to him, so you'll definitely see me. But whether or not my question will be edited out, I don't know. But,
nah, they wouldn't
junk,
dare.
I can confirm that his junk was not out.
Nice. Well, his junk is to be kept in the highest esteem. All right, so everybody, I'm looking forward to checking that out. Hopefully, it'll be out in the next couple days, or maybe even by Monday when this pod comes out. Maybe it'll be up already. But well done on that. I'm looking forward to it. Did they do an open training session?
Yeah. So Thursday, they did an open training session that went on for it was about 75 or 80 minutes. That was pretty sweet. And then they did some autographs and stuff like that, afterwards. I didn't hang around too long after that, but they did an open training session. Leading up to that was another kind of half-hour, 45-minute chat with Ray Parler. And then before that, they did a thing with a bunch of the young Gooners where they brought them on, and ended up one little boy he had found out that he was going to be the mascot for tonight's match and stuff. So yeah, the young Gooners got to do some things on stage with I think Ramsey and Welbeck and a couple other guys. So
I'm just imagining like 60,000 Arsenal people from all over the world just being like, Ray, okay, enough already, go away, man. It's enough with you. They
said it was something like 17,000 showed up because it was a free event, and thanks to somebody from, I think, the Londoners that were here, I got into the VIP section.
Nice.
But yeah, it was about 17,000. Is what they said. Which, again, is a lot. And but both matches actually were something like over 80,000, which is insane. It's more than the Emirates. But
that is amazing.
Really impressive. It was impressive to see how many people turned out.
So speaking of the games and the 80,000, I mean, the atmosphere there. It was pretty audible on the streams that we got through Arsenal.com that as with last summer, the fans go to the well a little too often with certain chants about Tottenham and Red Army chants and that sort of thing every 30 seconds. But other than that, I mean, how was the atmosphere in your opinion? Where were your seats? What kind of view did you have?
We had great seats. We were to, I forget which end, but we were behind one of the goals in the lower bowl, probably about 25 rows back. We had pretty good seats, and everybody was great and super polite. I can't say enough about the locals here. Everybody's extremely polite and never had an issue. Tonight, the Western Cindy Wanderers. I guess their ultras were at the opposing goal end, and they had brought a drum and stuff, and that definitely added to the atmosphere. But after we had scored a couple, they definitely were much more quiet.
Yeah, I heard the "You're not singing anymore" chant when we scored the second goal, which is a bit unnecessary in that situation, I suppose. But good to see see the supporters in full form, and it sounds like there was a little bit of banter going back and forth, which is nice.
Yeah, for sure. So the other thing too that was actually really impressive was so they had the Arsenal match tonight, and then they were playing in the Olympic Park area that was built for the 2000 Olympics, and then in the same area they had a Aussie Rules Football League match, and then they also had Disney on Ice. So the train station was, probably holding, somewhere around 150,000 people or whatever.
How were you able to decide which one to go to?
There was a strong consideration for Disney on Ice. Who doesn't want to see Mickey on skates, right?
Well, even better than that. I mean, seeing Cinderella, she's a piece of ass. So you gotta catch that.
To each their own, but yeah, I hear you.
Actually, I wasn't. I was going for one of the other ones, and my mind went blank, and all I could think about was Cinderella. So let's not start pinning me with being a Cinderella stalker. But were there any of the goals that we saw? I guess we saw 5 goals over the 2 games. Which ones were scored in the net that in the nearby? Which do you have the best view of?
I don't think any of them were at our end.
Yeah, because they were all pretty much in the same halves, I guess. And if you were at the wrong end, so you didn't get to see the Martinho overhead kick super close.
I did not. However, during the open training, it was pretty rad because Giroud was he was trying to put on a show. Him and Lacazette were taking crosses from either end for the better part of 15 or 20 minutes, and Giroud hit a pretty sweet overhead bicycle during training. It was pretty awesome.
That man
and
does love a nice
after he got done, he kind of they kind of put his hand to his ear, kind of looking for an applause kind of thing after he hit it. But it was a sweet goal.
Now, how did him and Lacazette seem to get on? Because there was a lot of, I'm sure this was not even noticeable, and I don't buy into this at all, but there was actually a lot of Twitter banter back and forth about Giroud ignoring Lacazette after his goal today while he was celebrating, and there's this narrative that Giroud doesn't like competition and he's being a dick to Lacazette. I think it's ridiculous that people are even looking into it that much, but you saw them off the pitch. Are they forming a partnership here, or is there a little bit of tension, or can you tell?
So I don't know if you watched both matches, but actually they played together in both matches. And, coming from the French national team and stuff, it's obvious that they train with each other and they have a pre-existing partnership. They seem to work well. When Alexis comes back, it'll be interesting to see how that piece fits into the puzzle. But I'm a fan of Giroud. I hate to see him leave. He definitely brings something different to Arsenal and stuff. But I'm on board with you as far as him and whatever that Twitter talk of trying to between him and Lacazette or whatever the case may be. But
it's overblown a little bit. And if anyone heard the phone in the background, I apologize, but I just let it ring through to voicemail because it was Ray Parler calling. So so the games are over. The trip's almost over. sounds like the experience has been unbelievable. I mean, given how this experience has surely changed your life, I mean, are you more likely, seriously, to go on another summer tour trip, come over to London to watch some games, go to Gooner Gras? I mean, what's your supporters' trips and following the team in person future, as far as you know?
I've got some fall plans, but I'm curious to see with especially with the Europa League and it having opened up other, places to go to in Europe. I'm curious to see what the Arsenal America road trip for this fall looks like. So I might be on board for that, depending upon how everything shakes out.
Always a good time.
Gooner Gras, I'm not sure. It would be sweet to go to, being in New Orleans and stuff, and that time of year. Be great to go, especially, I live in Columbus, Ohio, and, from January to February, it's, a high of 12 degrees for 6 weeks straight. So it would be great to go down to New Orleans and fall out.
And you don't have to worry about being sober amongst a bunch of drunk people, because most Arsenal America people don't drink. And so, I mean, you'd be in good company. So, it's not,
absolutely.
It's not called AA for any, for any other reason, but. Well, I hope that you'll go.
Yeah, I
mean, it's a great experience. It's a great time to meet people where there's not even a game other than watching it on TV around. No.
I've been to New Orleans before. It's a great town. I enjoy it down there. I was actually 2 girls that are on the trip here from California. We were on our way back from the stadium this evening. We were kind of talking about if we would do summer tour again next year, and kind of debating on the potential of where Arsenal could be traveling to next year. So,
well, if the past few years are any,
it'd be interesting. I'd like to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if the past few years are any guide, it seems like they're pretty much shooting for the U.S. every other year. So they've been to New York, they've been to L.A. I'm guessing maybe Chicago next year. We'll see. But that would be good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be awesome. If they want to come to Columbus and fill up stupid-ass Buckeye Stadium, that would be cool.
Nice. Well, I'm sure if they do, we know who will be there. Mr. Ray Parler.
Yeah, absolutely. Ray Parler can come stay at my new house.
He's actually already there. He's there waiting for you when you get home. So.
Sweet.
Well, Adam, thank you for taking time out of your trip. I know it's close to actually just a little after midnight your time now, so I don't want to keep you up too long, but enjoy your final day in Sydney tomorrow, and we appreciate you joining us and looking forward to having you back on the pod for a, kind of a traditional podcast later in the season, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Cool. Thank you.
All right.
Were you not going to thank Tom for being on the pod?
I did.
Oh, we did?
I didn't give him a chance to say.
I wasn't listening.
I wasn't either.